Men, if you may or may not know, are very simple and direct creatures, while on the contrary, us females are complex and mysterious creatures, which makes perfect sense as both of us are built upon the basis of being contrary to one another. Just by these opposite qualities alone, which are embedded in each and every one of us, represents how men and women truly are opposites and come from totally different worlds, which is understandable how we often perceive their behaviors as a reflection of our own, or perhaps even a personal attack taken towards our egos by certain words which we take to heart, because we tend to be more sensitive and emotionally connected beings while they aren't as much. By that I mean is, we are prone to taking their actions or responses as personal most of the time, failing to realize that their natural protect and provide and conquer hardwiring has always been present since day one, and their natural direct approach to everything. Planning and initiating ideas of how to win the next war, lands to conquer, which city to build, how to rescue someone out of a burning building, all fall under their natural hunter and gatherer mindset. So who says it would be any different in their relationships? No matter the scale, on a micro to macro level, it all leads back to one innate natural hardwiring that even through generations and evolutions, or even old diverse cultural traditions, which totally go against their nature, could neither alter nor shake. It is an inner desire or need that is found in every one of them, whether on the surface or deep within, that modern society now wants to urgently change. Enter the going 50-50 debacle. The TLDR, women enabled men to treat them the way they do now. But let's not get too ahead of ourselves. Salam and welcome, divine feminine creatures. I am Iman, and I'm so glad you're here. You're so lucky. So keep an open mind and a neutral perspective so that you will be able to benefit from the different insights and nuances of this oh so controversial topic. Thank you, and now let's begin. Bismillah. So the bitter truth, and the one I really feel queasy to even admit, is that men only started changing their colors from their proper gentleman ways to becoming unpolished sleazebags in the last not so many years, mainly because women stopped being women. Granted, also poor upbringing, of course, but that too has much more to do with the mother as well. Breathe. I know. That was the toughest part to swallow. Now let's just unravel the how dare and why. All along, the women, myself included at one point, blamed men for everything and believed that everything that ever went south in a relationship between the two was all contingent on the man, when we're totally forgetting the phrase that it takes two to tango. You need two people to ruin a relationship, and most of the time, both are in the wrong, but egos get in the way from realizing that. But since the woman is more intuitively inclined and matures emotionally and gains wisdom far long before a man does, by that logic it kind of falls on the woman for continuing to be in the relationship and not removing herself from a person unworthy of her attention, loyalty, love, and energy. I mean, since we're basically smarter, doesn't that mean a larger responsibility to choose better falls on us? And even when it does, it shouldn't feel like a burden or something so unnatural, because when you are connected to your feminine energy, you orchestrate proper boundaries and behaviors naturally without much thought. So what caused this to further entrench and become the norm? The emergence of the modern woman. Modern women found feminine roles and norms like motherhood or decorating their house boring, annoying, or tedious and less attractive than, say, flying a plane. These things became a trivial matter and they became repulsed by it due to insecurities and traumas of their own. These women started recompensating for their lack of femininity by changing their roles in society, by wearing the pants, and shrunk their standards to the point of non-existence. That, or hating on other thriving feminine women in lovely, healthy relationships with themselves and others, and forming a hateful bias about them, usually done together. All thanks to some jerk, the devil most likely, who decided to brainwash women and convince them and talk them into believing that they couldn't possibly do or deserve better, let alone be treated like a queen by everyone. This was purposefully done by targeting their vanity, the women's greatest weakness, I believe, by consciously relinquishing their feminine power, and not only that, but to hate it and be ashamed of it. Moreover, if found in another woman to simply say, "Oh, I'm not like other girls, I'm different," with a sense of pride to be separated and detached from sisterhood. Like, ugh, as if. What I'm wondering is what this whole division and collective hatred are all about. In high school, I get it. We had cliques and popularity and coolness existed. But you can't be telling me that it still exists today, on an even bigger scale than it did in the past. It's almost as if high school was preparing us for the real-life Olympics version of girl-on-girl hate. The cradle of gossip, jealousy, envy, and endless comparison, which all stem from massive feelings of insecurity and no sense of self. I mean, isn't this directly what's impacting our personal relationships? And halting our self-discovery process, especially our goals and what we truly want for ourselves, and not who or what'll look cute on Instagram. Modern women started doing more by putting in more effort, pursuing and chasing the male, and basically doing his job, pun intended. Doing this eroded their femininity because you had to become the exact opposite in order to win in such a competitive environment of zero leniency and increasing expectations from the job market. By you working your fingers to the bone, completely disregarding the fact that they enjoy doing this all along naturally without any complaints. I mean, just look at Taxi Driver. Social Rube, not completely sartorially challenged, but still knew on some level how to treat and impress a little lady in a special way. He saw what he wanted and went right after it. No games, hot or coldness, no wandering eye or distractions, etc. Just like a man. Went in and gave it his best shot and made it very clear that he's interested in her. It's helpful to keep a keen eye on how she reacts back to this approach as well for insights.
Then what exactly do you want?
Would you like to come have some coffee and pie with me?
Why?
Why?
Yeah.
I'll tell you why.
They're innately born with naturally pursuing, initiating the first move and taking charge. But then you started scolding them for it and endorsed them to not contribute or put in any effort, then got shocked why the less masculine turned into present-day princesses. Without their efforts, the masculine role vanishes and they're left with nothing productive to do or add. So society applauds them for it even more because, hey, now they're just getting their cake and eating it too. Granted, this is no excuse, but I only speak from the majority hoi polloi point of view. A perfect example of this being visually portrayed is in Sleepless in Seattle. When Tom Hanks is asked how long it's been since his last date, he says it's been a long time, where he not only offers but knows it's a requirement for the man to pay for the date. And then his pal updates him with the fact that that's old-fashioned and that it's the woman's job now, and they like it that way. And then he's left scratching his head as in why would that be?
Good news is you split the check.
I don't think I could let a woman pay for dinner.
Great. They'll throw a parade in your honor. You'll be Man of the Year in Seattle Magazine.
I wonder if it still works this way.
It doesn't. They ask you.
I'm starting to notice that.
So how did this impact men treating women if lack of femininity is the cause? As mentioned earlier, they are the total opposite of us. We're from Venus, they're from Mars. It's why you'll see them in positions of high risk and responsibilities, and lots of people dependent on them, such as soldiers, police officers, firefighters, construction workers, pilots, captain of the ship, surgeons, the works. In this day and age, this protection has been converted to financial form for the most part. We no longer live in caves where we need to hunt deers and cook them unseasoned and that be the highlight of our day. Whether it's protection and becoming your shield from war, defending your honor in society and having غيرة, which is to feel a certain way about the way you dress because it impacts how others view you and then treat you, or building a strong, safe, and secure house for you to live in, and the list goes on. There is still a majority of men around the world who still operate on this traditional masculine mindset and don't see outside of what they were created for because it would drive them literally insane if they were to act outside of their natural God-given role. They're unconsciously aware of this because it's been embedded in their DNA since birth. No wonder most of the men in America are bugging. Since we are the prize and they have the natural ability to chase, pursue, and impress us, it's them who do whatever possible to get the female's attention. Which means that since this behavior links to their nature, when they couldn't find the opposite of them to balance them out, aka the feminine receiving entitled, high standard diva energy, they would be either left to settle with the no-effort woman who they picked, Vivian over Al, or had to muster up the courage to change in order to be caught up to speed with the woman they sought after and had to woo and impress. Now the takeaway point with a metaphor to really put things into perspective. Say you're a gal who deserves a world and is hungry and presented with a bushel of bad apples. Do you eat them anyway, irregardless of their clearly visible rotten grossness, just because you're starving? Choosing to eat an obviously bad looking apple is out of your line of thinking even. So I believe the answer is no, you can't even put that thing in a juicer. I mean, you do believe that in a big beautiful apple tree there are an array of cutie, juicy and ripe apples too that are good for you to choose from, that also provide you with just the right nutrients and satiate your hunger, right? But just because you're starving doesn't mean that you'll take what you can get and settle when you realize there's a whole market out there catered to your preferences. You don't panic or get upset at all for something that'll just be harmful for your physical and mental health. So in life, whenever in contact with this type, just discard the bad apple. There are no hard feelings or any real explanations except for the fact that this apple just isn't for you. And you can move on by knowing that there are other fabulous red apples out there. Like, do you really think you'll never find a ripe and juicy apple again? No, that's just crazy talk. Apples are literally everywhere. Now, do you ever think if you collectively started discarding certain men, they'd stop showing up in your lives more than just ever so often? No. They would either not present themselves to you in such a disorderly manner, or would straighten their act up and come correct. You deserve an apple that'll satiate you and give you all the right nutrients and keep you healthy. Hashtag stop choosing the wrong apple. Trust your feminine intuition instead. And that concludes this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I really hope you learned a thing or two about yourself and your relationships. Comment below if you have anything to share regarding this topic, whatever you learned, or if you have any questions. I'd love to answer them. Anyway, this has been nice, and I thank you for being here. Bye, and toodles for now. Assalamu alaikum.